I'm very pleased to salute the 5th ITUC World Congress in Melbourne, which is her last as General Secretary by my dear friend, Sharon Burrow. My message to you is given with a real sense of urgency. We have so many crises in our world today. The food crisis, the fuel crisis, the jobs crisis, the debt crisis, the inequality crisis, that we tend to forget the overarching climate crisis. And that tends to aggravate all the other crises, which are, of course, connected. The urgency stems from the fact that we have been so slow to act in industrialized countries and emerging economies to cut fossil fuel and cut those emissions so that the window in the future is beginning to close. In October 2018, the scientists of the world, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, did a special report on the world staying at 1.5 degrees warming above pre-industrial standards. They were asked to look at the difference between 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees because both were in the goal of Paris. And they said the whole world must stay at 1.5 degrees. And to do that, they advised us, indeed they warned us, we need to reduce by 45% global carbon emissions by 2030 and then reach net zero by 2050. And as you well know, we're not on course for that. We're not nearly on course for that. We're on course for a world at 2.7 degrees or worse, into 3 degrees, which would be catastrophic. So I believe we need to change the narrative on climate and to make it a positive narrative. We all need to ask ourselves a question. What if our best world is still ahead of us? And it is. It's the world that is a clean energy world with clean energy jobs. It's a world where cities will be great places to live because they'll be green. They'll have gardens. They'll even have farms in the city. We produce food in cities. And they'll be places to walk, places to cycle around. The countryside will be rewilded. We'll have much more conservation architecture because we have to restore the biodiversity and have restoration as part of agriculture. So it'll also be a world where developing countries will have access to clean energy, and that will take them out of poverty and give them jobs much quicker than anything else. So I want to use my brief message to invite the trade union movement to join with what we are already doing as women leaders. A group of us as women leaders have already started a movement, a climate justice movement, with a very positive narrative based on that question, that our best world is ahead of us, and we want that choice, because otherwise we would head for a worse world. So we want that best world. We want to join with young climate activists, with indigenous communities. We're involving the progressive elements in the private sector, and there are some, as Sharon Burrow and myself well know, and faith-based groups and everyone. And I think what we want is pressure on the big emitters who are not doing enough, but also a positive sense of what we can all do. And I think we can all take 3 steps, and I'm going to conclude with this. First of all, we can make the climate crisis personal in our lives. And that means we do something to reduce our own carbon footprint. Secondly, we get angry with those who haven't done enough, which is our movement, pressure. Thirdly, we imagine this world we all need to be hurrying towards. And that's the question. What if our best world is still ahead of us? It is. And we must choose and fight for it, and fight for the jobs it will bring and the future that it will bring. And let's all remember, because I'm chair of the elders, the words of Nelson Mandela, who said very succinctly, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So I wish you a very successful 5th World Congress, and I hope that the trade union movement will step up enormously over the coming years. Thank you.